I think Reconciliation Week must be important to all Australians. It's a critical part of who we are as Australians, and the need for us to be closer and more engaged with our First Nations fellow Australians has never been more important than it is now. This is an exciting time of the year because it is that opportunity for everybody to spend a little time and focus on what that relationship could, should, might be. From TTF's perspective, we have a reconciliation action plan, but of course that's just the first stage of the journey. All of our staff here and our members are committed to that reconciliation action plan, and we look forward to doing more and more in this space. Well, look, we're a relatively small team, so any work we do in the space around our RAP is something that everybody is by its very nature engaged in. But sometimes it's the smaller things that build relationship and connection. So we as a team will be going out to do an Indigenous walk with a First Nations guide. And it's things as simple as that that start the journey of a better conversation. We think it's critical that the tourism industry and the wider transport industries have a real understanding of what the opportunities are to work with First Nations Australians and to help, for example, Indigenous and First Nations tourism be all it can be. And there's no doubt that it's one of the global trends that travellers coming to Australia are extremely keen to engage. So we think part of our job is to help and build bridges within that tourism sector to make sure that there is the bright and impressive future that Indigenous and First Nations tourism represents, and the importance it will be to the brand that is Australia in the future. I think it's absolutely critical that TTF and all of its members on the journey in terms of reconciliation. It's such a critical part of our future as Australians, but in addition to that, from the tourism industry's perspective, it's one of the biggest global trends is a desire to engage with First Nations people in countries all over the world. And here in Australia, we have such a tremendous opportunity, 65,000 years of history, and a wonderful future if we approach it the right way with our First Nations Australians. Sometimes it's the everyday things that create the most special moments. We were lucky enough to have Auntie Margaret Campbell doing our Welcome to Country at a sustainability event only last week, and the generosity and the graciousness and the outreach of that welcome was incredibly special, and we're really looking forward to working with her on an Indigenous event we're hoping later this year for the tourism sector as a whole. I think the other one for me is not so very long ago, one of our members, NRMA, was celebrating the third stage of their RAP. They've made wonderful and quite extraordinary and very impressive progress. But one of the things that they had at that event was the capacity and opportunity to have traditional paint on your face as part of the welcome from the First Nations people who were there. I felt so honoured to have that on my face, and really thrilled about it. And I went to a number of different events that night afterwards and continued to wear it because it made me feel like I was part of a really important conversation and a direction that I think is so important for the whole of the tourism and transport industries.